If you know me from my other business, you may ask one question. Why would the guy with the aggressive returns business, why would he actually be building the most boring firm in finance? And that's a good question. You should stay for the answer because it's the most important money decision that you'll make this year. I believe that there's two engines that are extremely important in your financial life. On the one hand, you've got your growth engine. That's going to be aggressive, you've got higher targets, and you're going to take bigger swings. On the other hand, you've got your certainty engine. That's going to be your planned, your protected, and your boring on purpose engine. Of course, neither engine is a wrong thing to pursue, right? It's not wrong to go for growth, and it's not wrong to be protected and be a little bit more conservative. The only problem is when you try to just focus your strategy on one of them. And that's where a lot of people have issues or the discontent that they have in their finances. So how that looks practically is if you have all growth and no certainty, then everything that you've built could end up vanishing overnight. The thing that I've seen is when there's all growth and no certainty, then one bad sequence could put you in a position that you don't want to be in. And then on the other hand, when there's all certainty and no growth, you don't really know if you're actually keeping up with inflation or any of those factors as well. The line that I like to live by is the growth engine makes your life more exciting, but the certainty engine makes your life a little bit more predictable and sustainable. So the question that I hear people asking all the time is, how much in returns can I get? What does a monthly average look like? Or what's the yearly gain going to be? And of course, no one can genuinely answer that question with truth and certainty. All they can look at is past returns, historical numbers, any trends that they see that are happening, but no one can actually predict the future. And if they could, I'm sure they would give you the winning lottery ticket numbers. But the more important question that should be asked is, how much of my money needs to be certain? How much of my money can I not actually afford to lose? How much of my money needs to be in a very conservative account or very conservative investment? And that's where we come in. As far as KWP is concerned, we're just looking for the base hits. And that's something that can be consistent. It's something that we really want to make sure that is a part of the portfolio that you're managing or that you have. When you're talking about certain money and you're talking about being conservative, you're talking about establishing the foundation. You're talking about establishing the roof. You're talking about the retirement. You're talking about kids' tuition. You're talking about your spouse's security. Everything above that line, of course, is going to be a little bit more risk appetite. You're going to have alternative investments to fill above that line. Everything below that line needs to be certain. Most people that I've seen and come across don't actually draw that line. They keep everything in one pile, they keep everything in one account, and then they decide what to do with it, whether they stick with one engine or they go with the other. But they don't have a diversified portfolio, and that's something that is extremely important when you are managing your finances. Not only is that extremely important, but sometimes I've seen a lot of people let emotion creep in. When you have an objective plan and you have objective goals that are clear in that investment plan that we put together, then it becomes much more clear. What we're looking for and aiming for is financial clarity. Not just education, not just literacy, but clarity on your situation directly. I spoke to someone recently about their financial picture, and one of the biggest questions that he mentioned was, what happens when I die? What happens to this plan when I die? I just need someone to be able to take care of my spouse in terms of when these beneficiaries need to step in and be able to take care of the money that I'm leaving for them. And truth be told, the strategy that depends on you also will die with you. Research shows that a large majority of widows, people that just recently lost their spouse, they leave their financial advisor within a year of passing because they don't really know the strategy. They never really had a relationship with that person. A lot of the strategies lived in the person that passed in their head. And when that's the case and that person passes, then the spouse is left with all just a document. That's it. And the problem with that is when that person who has all the information in their head, when they pass, when there's no plan, there's no documented process of how things are actually supposed to progress, then that's when people lose out on continuity, they lose out on clarity. And that's when not only are you dealing with an emotional time, but you're also figuring out finances again for the first time in your life. We don't want anyone to be in that position, and that's why clarity matters the most for us. And this is what we call the bus test. If you weren't able to touch this account for a year, or you weren't here at all, let's just say something, God forbid, happened to you, the test is, would your family still be able to operate and access the capital or access the strategies that you've set up? And if the answer is yes, then excellent. That's the plan and that's the way that it should be. If the answer is no, then you need to build something that's documented and clear and communicated, because an actual plan can be passed on. A trading account doesn't necessarily do the same thing. Just remember, your family doesn't inherit your instincts. They inherit a plan. They inherit the document. Most of our clients, they run both engines, the certainty engine and the growth engine. The only thing is, the best way to do it is to build the certainty engine first. Have the foundation built before you continue to construct the home. And that's not just like an opinion. That's engineering. That's the way that you should do it. Right? So all there is to do at this point is to have a conversation with my team. Book a call using the link below, and we'll be able to discuss what your financial picture can look like and the outlook that we can help you to build. I'll see you then.